taking a break from riding while the weather is disgusting. I don't know if you can hear the wind on this video, but it's fairly impressive. And I wanted to do this video because this is something that I cover pretty in depth in the Transform Your Riding Life course that I'm in the midst of editing and making pretty so that I can launch it next week. And it's also something that's come up a little bit with my coaching in person. So I thought that I would do a bit of an introduction to it here, but just because I think it's really useful. I think it's something that everyone kind of needs to know, and I don't think you should have to, be coached by me or buy a course or whatever to have this information and to be able to use it to hopefully, improve your riding life. And to be honest, I use it in all areas of my life. So the idea that I want to talk about is having an inner village. And so what I mean by that is when you have a thought come into your mind, and so the classic one that I think comes up with writing or in life, and probably where I find this useful, is that thought of, I'm not very good at this, everyone else is better than me, I shouldn't be struggling this much, maybe I should just give up. And kind of recognizing that voice, while it's, still in my voice, has a very different tone to the thoughts around, oh my gosh, this is awesome, this is so exciting, I can't wait to do this thing, etc. And so the idea of having an inner village is that within you there are particular parts of your personality that have a different voice, have a different feel to them, and kind of recognizing that. So some people take it a lot further. Some people give their characters in their inner village names. They give them particular personalities. If they are a particularly visual person, you can think about how they look and how they dress, and you can kind of see them in your mind's eye. I have to confess, I'm not even remotely a visual person, so that doesn't work for me. And my names are fairly unoriginal. They literally just describe the tone of the voice. But I do find this concept really useful. And so before I kind of go into how I use it, I just want to make sure that, you're kind of following where I'm going with this idea. So as an example, and there's a lot more than this, but some of the characters of my inner village that crop up on a regular basis would be along the lines of, so my inner critic. So that's the one that I've kind of already mentioned, that one that goes, you made that mistake. Last time we tried this, it didn't go well. You shouldn't do it. And, no one else is struggling like you. Maybe you're just not cut out for it. That's my inner critic. That's my inner critic on a bad day. That's her working out of fear. My inner critic, though, is also really helpful because my inner critic also is critical of when I don't show self-respect. So if I, decide that I want to run myself into the ground, she's also the one that pulls that up. If I start, doing something with a horse and it starts to genuinely go south and there's the potential that I could get hurt, she's the voice in my head that goes, hey, this isn't a good idea. And so she's not all bad, and what you'll see with the characters I'm going to list and what you'll hopefully see with your own is that none of them are all good or all bad. So the next one would be the inner child. So on a good day, my inner child is the one that loves the feeling of the wind on my face when I'm riding, because as a kid I would always imagine what it would be like to be able to, have horses as an adult and ride whichever ones I choose, and to, canter and jump and do all those sorts of things. So she's the one that I feel that pure joy of a child just really enjoying being with a horse. She's also the one that, enjoys humming along to music. She's the one who's really creative. She's the one who came up with these courses, in fact. That's my inner child. When she's working out of love, When she's having a good day, that's her. When she's having a bad day, though, my inner child is the one who feels small, who feels scared, who gets really teary. She's the one who doesn't deal well with confrontation. She just wants to run and hide. She's the one where, when I let those emotions get the better of me, that's very much how I feel. I feel like this small child. I just want to curl up in a ball. And that's her when she's scared. And that's her taking over when she's scared. Other ones that come up are things like my inner skeptic, and this one is a particularly strong one for me. So where my inner skeptic is really useful is, I think it takes my gullibility down a notch. So my inner skeptic tends to pipe up whenever anyone sounds very sure of what they're saying. I have this tendency for my inner skeptic to go, yeah, cool, show me the evidence. She starts picking holes in what they're saying. She's the one who loves research because she loves picking holes in the argument. She loves looking at the methodology that people have used and seeing if it's flawed. She loves, challenging the basic assumptions. So she's really, really useful for that. Where she makes my life difficult is when I find something that cannot be explained. So she, for me, gets in the way of faith. She gets in the way of me having faith in things that she can't explain and she doesn't have an answer for. And she likes everything to be evidence-based. And things happen that just aren't evidence-based. And so that's where she kind of gets in the way, because she tends to struggle to go along with situations that she can't explain. She tends to hold back and withhold judgment until it's absolutely proven to her that maybe this thing actually is real or actually exists. And then, so as another one, we might have my inner professional. So my inner professional is the one that, has the degrees and the education. She prides herself on being able to conduct herself in a professional way. She's good at listening to people's stories and not overreacting or underreacting. She's good at sort of taking things in her stride and thinking them through rationally and whatnot. Where she struggles sometimes is taking that professional hat off or being able to show some empathy to the person in front of her. So my inner professional can sometimes get a little too professional and sometimes lose some of the warmth and some of the care. And that's something that I have to be really cautious of and I have to really keep on top of. So they're just 4. There's plenty more than that, but they just give you an idea of what I mean when I say that, different voices in my head have different tones. They're all in my voice, but they have different tones and they have different characters and they serve different purposes. And none of them, are only good or only bad. They each have a function both when they're acting out of love and when they're acting out of fear. And it's important to recognize both of them and to recognize why they're acting out of fear or why they're acting out of love. So, like I said, we go quite deep into this in the course, and if you want to discuss it with me, I can go into a little bit further, but I wanted you to kind of mainly get 2 things out of this. And so one of these is that if you look at this model, you can see that if we have all of these different characters and all of these different aspects of our personality that are all going on in our mind, can you see why your thoughts, the thoughts that run through your head, are not necessarily you and not necessarily the ultimate truth? So when my inner critic is the loudest one in my head saying, you're not good enough, you won't be able to, you've made too many mistakes, etc., 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 it's really easy to believe her because she sounds really damn sure. And she's the loudest one, so I can't hear my inner skeptic going, hey, maybe she's wrong. I can't hear my inner professional being like, we have the training to deal with this. I can't hear my inner child going, but it would be fun and I want to. All I can hear is her. That doesn't make it more true. That doesn't make her more right than the others. It just means that she happens to be the loudest one at the time. The other thing that I would love you to get out of this is that if we can accept that they both have, they can act out of fear or act out of love, but they're part of us, which means that every single one of them has, at some level, our best interests at heart. And so just like whole people, they make poor choices. They deal with things badly. They go about it the wrong way, but they're really trying to help us. So if I take that example of my inner critic, and this is how this usually goes, right? So she starts going on about, oh, the horse is stopping again. You're ruining him. You're a failure. You're not very good at training horses. And I start to feel small. I start to feel ashamed. I start to feel like I'm going to cry. Well, what's happened is my inner critic has said that, and my inner child has gotten scared, and she's now the one running the show. But was my inner critic really trying to scare my inner child, or was my inner critic trying, in a somewhat misguided way, to keep me safe? So it is physically safer if I do give up at that point. Oh, the horse is stopping, it's not going very well. I could fall off. So my inner critic goes, oh, I know how to pull this up, because if I can tell you it's not a good idea, and if I can make that, sound true enough, the inner child will react to it. And then you're not going to do the thing because you'll just be this scared inner child huddled in a ball. So all she has to do is go after the inner child to get me to back down from the thing that I want to do. But she does have my best interest at heart, and this is what I really want to highlight, because it's no good trying to shut that voice down, trying to tell it it's wrong, trying to beat it back, because then all you're doing is you're fighting one voice against another. And this is what I find really useful in my writing. One, that voice isn't necessarily right. It's not necessarily telling the truth. Just because I feel like a child, I'm no longer a child. And then this is where two comes in. I, as an adult, can step in, thank my inner critic for trying to keep me safe, and go, you know what? Thank you. I see that you're trying to keep me safe, but I think I've got this. I think it's fine. And then I can give some comfort to my inner child, and then I can continue on. And what this means is, as much as it sounds like a crazy person talking to the various voices in your head, if we talk to them nicely, if we use that basis of self-compassion, and we talk to them nicely, they don't tend to derail us, because they're acting out of fear, and we're not adding fear to fear. We're not making the situation more and more heated. We're diffusing it. We're taking the inner critic who is in fear and showing her kindness. We're taking the inner child who is in fear and showing her kindness. And we can get them both back online with love. So this is just one of the things that I want you to get out of this. It's one of the ways that I like to use the inner village myself to, prevent it absolutely derailing me when I start hearing my inner critic attacking my inner child in my head. I can actually, by recognizing that those voices are not me, that they're not true, but that they have my best interest at heart, I can actually step in as an adult and change the situation and do the thing that I want to do, and do it calmly, and do it without beating myself up about it. So I hope you found this useful. If you have and you want to learn more, get in contact with me. So I do obviously coaching. I do coaching packages. If geography is a problem, I actually have a remote coaching package that I don't really promote all that much, but you're welcome to talk to me about it. And then I have my Transform Your Writing Life course, which does a proper deep dive into this. So there's at least 6 or 7 other ways that we can use the inner village to help our writing. And otherwise, if you want to leave a comment, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. I'd love to hear